All right, just spent the most money I've ever spent on a bottle of bourbon. Let's hope it's good.
Happy to be here for the opening.
Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to an episode of the Bourbon Hutch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So we've got some interesting new additions to the Hutch today. First, we've got Wild Turkey Master's Keep Voyage, which we're going to be reviewing for you. And we've also got my Uncle Chris, who's joining us and is going to be tasting alongside to kind of celebrate this milestone, this awesome bottle. He's also just in town visiting me, so good to have a guest on the channel. First guest.
Yep, excited to be here. First guest. It's very thrilling.
And you're getting to taste the most expensive bottle of bourbon I have ever
Which I appreciate
purchased.
You paying for.
Yes. So this bottle, guys, is I paid $250 for it. The MSRP is $275, so I got a little less at Costco. Another pro tip is if you have a Costco in your area, see if they have bourbon, because usually you can get it pretty cheap, which is awesome. But here we're looking at a super limited release from Wild Turkey, part of their Master's Keep lineup. It's called Voyage. It's a 10-year-old rum-finished bourbon. My understanding is that after the 10 years, they age it in the rum barrels for another 6 weeks or so. They collaborated with Appleton Rum distillers, and that's supposed to be an incredible collaboration between Eddie Russell, who's the head of Wild Turkey, and the master distiller over there at Appleton, who had like 14-year-old rum in those barrels that they selected. So supposed to be incredible.
I guess
Better be for the price. We've had these open. We're letting it kind of air out. But Chris, why don't you tell them like what your familiarity is with bourbon as we kind of get into it?
Sure. I would say COVID actually led me to try some more bourbons. I've always been more of your commercial bourbon guy. You know, Woodford and Elijah Craig and Knob Creek. My brother got me a really good Derringer from Rabbit Hole. It was quite good.
I tasted that with you. It was really good.
It was
tasty.
So I'm concerned that I'm not going to be up to snuff here.
No. I think the whole point is like I'll taste it, you'll taste it, we'll give our honest opinions, and it's going to be good to have two different palates on this because I think rum-finished bourbons are kind of hit or miss for people. So
and I have had some really good rums in Puerto Rico.
Really?
And just straight same way. So and they are really nice. So very well done. Alcohol is very well done alcohol.
I hope it's a combo of both of those things. And it's interesting you mentioned the Derringer because that's like a sherry finished bourbon. So this is another finished bourbon. Hopefully it lives up to the hype.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Why don't we start with the nose and see what we're getting though?
I don't smell the rum yet. Do you smell the rum?
I smell like more of a rum sweetness than I get on most bourbons. But it's pretty well blended in there.
Yeah, and if it's only 6 weeks, it's probably pretty subtle.
Yeah, I think it's part of the reason some of these rums are hit or miss is because people basically feel like they're tasting rum instead of bourbon, which you want it to fold in and accent stuff. But here I'm getting like, it's kind of tropical. Like there's a.
I feel like you're in the islands.
Yeah, there's like a sugar cane sweetness to it. With a little bit of like an acidity as well.
Maybe. Yeah, right at the end. Yeah, I agree.
Like a pineapple kind of acidity to it. But then there's I'm still getting the brown sugar. A little bit of like cherry. Some of the stuff I'd more typically get on a Wild Turkey that's 10 years old. I'd get those deeper, darker bourbon notes. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
You're better at this than I am.
And it's going to open up as we keep going, but I think the first thing I notice is that the rum is doing a good job accenting the bourbon instead of taking over anything. Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
No, I agree. Yeah, definitely not. You're not getting a heavy island rum flavor to it.
All right, let's get in our palates. First sip. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yep.
Really smooth.
Oh yeah. Well, it's got spice to it, but smooth in how it goes down.
Yeah, you can feel it on your tongue.
Oh yeah, you feel it on the tongue, the side of the cheeks.
Yeah.
I don't get as much of like a Kentucky hug. It's not like fiery as it goes down. I think the proof here is only 106, so not super heavy, high proof.
Only.
Yeah, well, I mean, only. I'm talking about, got a Jack Daniels in there. It's like 132 or something like that. So this is pretty moderate, and it's got a long finish. I only have one sip so far. I'm still getting this like brown sugar, vanilla, sugarcane sweetness.
Yeah, no, it's really nice though.
Yeah. All right, I'll go in for a second sip here, see if I can pick out some more flavors. Just revisit the nose real quick.
Yeah, I typically have bourbon over ice.
Yeah.
And the water cuts it a little bit, and I guess on some of your cheaper bourbons that helps.
Yep.
But this doesn't need it at all. It's really good.
Wow. Yeah.
And you wouldn't want to cut expensive bourbon.
No.
What'd you say, $250?
$250, yeah.
Better you than me.
Oh, gosh. My budget.
Good thing it's cheap to live in Kentucky.
I know. The good thing is... Yeah, this is really good. The like sweet cinnamon nose of a wild turkey really coming through for me. All right, I'm going for a second sip.
Yeah, I never thought of wild turkey on the high end bourbon spectrum, and you straightened me out on that one.
Yeah, people think of wild turkey 101 and they think of, I did shots in college of that, and that's
Right.
my like bad image of bourbon.
Right, and it was bad going down
Yeah.
and coming back up.
But yeah, no, for sure. But they have sort of just like every other major distillery, they're going to have a scale of you start at the bottom. And I even think Wild Turkey 1 is pretty good, like as a starter bourbon. Then they got like Russell's Reserve 10. They got single barrels, rare breed. I think you've tasted rare breed. It's pretty good. And then, you get into this upper echelon. And man, this is just good. It's
Good.
sweet.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
It's sweet. It's spicy though. I feel like the spices are cinnamon, a little bit of like clove, and kind of like a pepperiness to it that sticks around. I keep saying cinnamon and like sweetness because when I think of rum, I think of kind of this like simmering cinnamon sweetness as well sometimes. Especially like a spiced rum.
Yeah, I think of purple and blue drinks in the
Oh, yeah.
They're just terrible.
Yeah. It's very nice.
Yep.
It's very well balanced.
I keep
Let's
wanting
go
to
for a
drink
third
it.
sip.
I love how you study them, like you're searching for something in there.
I'm just trying to understand what I'm tasting, and it's like my experience of this is it comes forward with the sweetness, and it's like a sugar cane, vanilla, kind of a touch of caramel sweetness, but then the mid palate for me really has a lot of that spice, and it's like
No, I definitely taste
cinnamon,
the spice in there.
black pepper, kind of like a spiced rum kick right in the middle. And then it fades back to some of that sweetness. The spice still lingers, for sure, and gives it this staying power, but it really comes back to this, like, almost tropical sweetness with a little bit of maybe that pineapple coming through. I'm picking up a little bit of, like, strawberry on the back end, which is pretty good. And the vanilla comes back, but I think the spice, like, lingers, and it typically like spice can just be so aggressive that you don't want it, but this is just like, wow, my whole mouth is tingling.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
That was the sense I was having too.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, I'm gonna do one more sip, my last little dregs here.
Well, we should toast on the last one.
Yeah.
To your dad,
Yeah,
Alan.
to Alan. All right.
So are we allowed to finish the bottle tonight or no?
No. No, I'm saving this for some special occasions.
I appreciate you inviting me to the initial opening.
Yes. Man, this is good, and I'm excited to see how it continues to open up because, again, just to recap, I think the highlights here are, like, you've got a bourbon. You know that you're tasting a bourbon. Brown sugars, vanillas, caramels are here. Actually, not much of, like, a wild turkey funk. Sometimes people get this mix of, like, oak and peanut butter that's a little weird. There's plenty of oak here, but it's not funky. And it really gets nicely kind of accented by the spicy rum, the little bit of acidity, and then kind of a tropical sweetness to it that kind of lingers for a while, which is really, really nice.
I agree.
Yeah.
The linger is kind of cool about it.
And it definitely, I'm just sitting here and letting it linger, and it's one of the longer finishes I've experienced, which is one of the marks of a truly great bourbon, is that not only does the palate taste great, the nose invites you in, but then like you can just sit with it for like 2-3 minutes and be like, wow, I'm still feeling the presence.
There you go.
Now the question is, like, is it worth $275? Is it the best bottle of bourbon I've ever had because I paid the most I've ever had? I don't know. I think there might be a couple of things in the Hutch that I might take this down.
I think you got to give it a second chance.
But it's going to open up. And I would say for the most limited sort of special thing that I currently own, like, I'm happy I paid the $250 for it and have it. And it just goes to show you that, like, what a master can do when they blend bourbon and rum. Eddie Russell, I mean, cheers, man. Great bourbon. It's really, really good. Hope you guys get to see it. Let me know in the comments below, what's your experience been with Master's Keep? This is my first ever, so of course I had to grab it as soon as I saw it. But what are your favorites, and are you hunting for this Voyage? If you ask me, I think it's a really, really solid product, and I am super excited to have it in the Hutch.
Well, thanks for inviting me on the Bourbon Hutch.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed
it's
it
been
immensely.
a pleasure. All right, guys. Till we see you for another video, all we can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.